Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V, and we are currently in that weird perineum of the year right now between Christmas and New Year, where nothing much seems to happen. Time is really weird, stretched out, going fast and too slow. You're not quite sure what the rules are about alcohol for breakfast anymore, but chocolate at any time of the day is fine. And if you're not working during that week, it's often a week of pajamas and looking around at the chaos that was once your house. However, I would say that this particular week of the year is probably one of the most powerful weeks of the year for practicing witches. I see this time of the year as a sort of liminal space. It's not quite the old year. We've done the old year now. That's after Christmas, it's all basically over, isn't it? But the new year hasn't yet started yet. You haven't committed to your diet yet. You're not back to school. You're not back to work. The first of the first hasn't started yet. And so we're just in this weird little thresholdy space where, like, we're standing in the doorway saying goodbye to last year while going, hang on 1 second, to next year. And we're sort of in that space betwixt and between, which is why I think it makes it the ideal liminal space for magic. What is a liminal space, though? Liminal spaces are places that are neither one place nor the other. So, for example, your porch in your house is neither inside your house, but nor is it really part of the outside world. It's a little in-between space between the two. Every doorway is an in-between space between two rooms, or between a home and between outside. Places like tunnels, the underground system, anything that's not quite one thing but not quite the other. For that reason, a lot of people think of beaches as liminal spaces, because it's not quite land, but it's not the sea yet. It's where those two meet and you have that little space in between. That's a liminal space. Woodlands are often seen as liminal spaces. They're sort of not quite wild, but not quite tamed. Anything that is, as I said before, betwixt and between two things is a very powerful space for any kind of magic. And so for me, this time now, where we are between 2025 and 2026, that's a very powerful time for doing any kind of liminal magic. And there are so many different types of liminal magic that are really accessible, really easy to do without any lots and lots of prior knowledge, and all of them will help fuel your personal growth. Personal growth work and shadow work, shadow self work, are very, very good at this time of year. Personal growth work, shadow self work are very, very easy to do at this time of year. It's dark outside, we're reflecting anyway, we tend to turn a bit more inward. And so now is a really good time to meet the darker sides of yourself. Not necessarily the dickhead side of yourself, but the sides of yourself that you maybe don't automatically show to other people, or maybe you don't really want to admit that you have and you kind of shy away from. Maybe there's a part of you that you're a little bit scared of. It's time to meet that person. It's time to journal with them, to write with them, to sit and make space for them and talk with them and ask them, what are they protecting you from? What are they here to help you do? Whenever there is a negative aspect of ourselves, it's almost always created in response to something to try and fulfill a need. And so perhaps you're a very angry person, but perhaps that is because that's the only way that you feel heard if you are being cross about things. Or perhaps you bend over backwards for people. You're always helping other people out. No one's ever there for you when you need that help, though. Why do you feel the need to keep on helping these people? What need is it serving within you? So liminal space, liminal times, a really, really good time to drill down into those aspects of ourselves, to ask ourselves why, to ask, what are you here to do for me? Why are you a part of my psyche? Is there a way that we can work out that we can live together in more harmony? Embrace that shadow self, see it as something loving that is trying to help you, that is maybe a bit misguided on it sometimes, but it's there for you, it's trying to protect you. Invite it in, give it a hug, let it integrate into you. Learn to love your monsters. For a similar reason, mindfulness meditations are really, really good during liminal spaces and during liminal times. And so particularly the kind of mindfulness meditation where you focus not just on your breath, but on the spaces in between breaths. So particularly if you're doing something like box breathing, so like Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. And hold, 2, 3, 4. And focus on where your mind goes in those spaces in between the breaths. It's the places in between are what we're focusing on during this liminal time. And that's something that you can just do in a couple of minutes. It doesn't need to be, I have to sit for an hour and say Om when I'm meditating. You can do that while you're waiting for the kettle to boil for your morning cup of tea. It's also a brilliant time for any kind of divination, any kind of decision making that you want to do. Find a crossroads near you, hang out there if you can, or meditate on crossroads and work your way through in your mind. What happens if I make this decision and follow this path? What happens if I make this decision and follow this path? Where does the road lead if I follow this path instead? Imagine yourself at the crossroads with all your decisions laid out in front of you, and signposts on these roads, and really envision what happens when you walk down that particular crossroad. If you're not very good at visualizing those things, it can be helpful to go to an actual crossroad and actually walk that while you're considering what might happen if you make this particular decision. Liminal spaces, they're supposed to be sort of thin spaces. They're supposed to be times when we can contact our ancestors more easily, we can contact guiding spirits more easily, and we can connect with those beyond the veil more easily. And so it is a really, really good time for any kind of divination. So like tarot, dowsing, runes, anything that you sort of use for fortune telling, for want of a better word. This is a really, really good time of year for it. And for that reason, I think I'm going to reopen my personal tarot card readings on my Ko-fi. I've had them closed for a little while so that I could have a little bit of a break over the festive period, but I think I'll reopen them this week because it's a really powerful and good time for divination this week. It's also a really great time to connect with natural cycles. And if you watched my video last week, you will have heard me talking about connecting with nature whilst you're out collecting greenery for your house for Christmas. So you might have done a little bit of it already, but it's very, very easy at this time of year to just stay inside as much as possible. During this week, if you can, get outside for a little bit. Notice whatever bit of nature you can. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, I live in the middle of a big city, there is no nature here, I absolutely promise you there is. Whether it is the tree that's standing by the side of the road, or the little rat that you saw on the underground, or even just the clouds in the sky, we're all part of this cycle. Other humans are part of the nature cycle, and just take a few moments to recognize and be in tune with that cycle during a liminal time of year. It's going to be really, really good for your brain. Similarly, liminal spaces tend to hold a lot of creative energy. So if you're any kind of artist, or even if you're not any kind of artist and you just like making arts and crafts, but you don't think of yourself as an artist, which by the way, you absolutely are. If you make any kind of art or craft, you're an artist. But this sort of time of year, liminal times, liminal spaces are really, really good times to get in touch with your creative self. Get a new sketchbook if you want to, by all means, but don't be too precious about it. Let everything flow. Create like you're a child again, and that it doesn't matter if you colour outside of the lines or you make mistakes or anything like that, because it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Joy of creating lies in the creating, not in the end product. And liminal time is a really, really good time to get in touch with those creative practices, because we can often use our creative urges to tell ourselves things that our conscious mind aren't picking up from our subconscious mind. That is also why it is a really good idea to keep a notebook by your bed at this time of year, so that you can write down any dreams that you have as soon as you wake up from them, because liminal times are times when we can interpret our dreams differently, and we can do dream work as well. It's similar to shadow work. It's a little bit more complicated because you first have to learn to lucid dream, but dream work is very, very good for repairing deep damage in your psyche, so wounds from very early childhood, things like that. You can really drill down in a way that is more difficult to do when you're awake and conscious, and journaling and doing shadow work that way. There are some things that we just need to get into the symbolic part of our brain, and dreams are really, really good for that. And so that could be a really good time to heal your inner trauma, hug your inner child, all that sort of stuff. It's the perfect time of year for it. Liminal spaces, and by extension, I think liminal times, teach us about resilience. A lot of people who are drawn to witchcraft, including sort of neurodivergent and disabled people as well, we have often felt different from a young age. We've often felt that we exist on the liminal, not quite part of our peer group, not quite an adult, not quite in this group, not quite in that group, not quite one of the nerdy kids, not quite one of the sporty kids, but somewhere in between them all. We're liminal people, and that actually teaches you massive resilience, because people like people who are easy to categorize. If you're not easy to categorize, especially when you're a child, or you act different when you're a child, people can react in quite a hostile way. They can be very excluding of you, and you learn that resilience as you grow up. And so as an adult, if when we're in those liminal spaces, if we can sit in that, lean into the discomfort of being not quite one thing, not quite the other, and accept that it's okay to exist in that liminal space, that it's okay to find that balance between not quite one thing, not quite the other thing, that can actually teach us really, really deep resilience that we can then call on when times are hard. In every life, there will be cycles where you have your easier times and your harder times, and it could be really, really helpful if during your easier times you have built up some tools to help you survive through those harder times. So doing stuff during the liminal is very, very helpful for that, especially if you can lean into that discomfort and just sort of surrender to it. Let yourself be carried along by it, not completely, not forever, just for a little while. You're in control of this here. We're not giving into depression here, but we're allowing that discomfort in. We're allowing ourselves to be uncomfortable with parts of ourselves that we don't like. We're allowing ourselves to be uncomfortable about experiences that we've had in the past. We're allowing ourselves to be uncomfortable about the things that we might do in the future, and surrendering to that and accepting it in is a very, very big power move to moving towards the kind of life that you want. The image that I want to leave you with when it comes to liminal spaces is this. For the butterfly to exist, the caterpillar must first be completely destroyed. It's the same creature all the way along, but whilst it's in that cocoon, in that liminal space between caterpillar and butterfly, the caterpillar is completely liquefied before it becomes a butterfly. It goes through a period of intense destruction where everything it ever was is broken down before it can be rebuilt again. I think that's a very powerful sort of metaphor for how all of these things work. In liminal magic, you have to be prepared to surrender the things that aren't right for you anymore, to leave the room behind you and move into the next one. You have to have the space for the things in the next room. We have to let go of what has come before. We have to trust that we're building this cocoon for a good reason. We have to know that while we're liquefying down into nothing, we will return better and brighter and more beautiful than ever. And then we have the struggle to get out of that cocoon as well, so that our wings are strong enough that we can fly. So that was some very short thoughts about liminal spaces for you. I have got it on my list that we're going to go more deeply into types of magic that you can do during liminal spaces, but I've got quite a few things on my witchy videos list at the moment, a lot of them inspired by comments that you guys have left, because you leave the most thoughtful comments on my videos, and it always gives me something interesting to research, something new to learn about. I really, really appreciate all the comments that you leave. But yeah, so in a few weeks we'll be doing some other witchy stuff. I'm not entirely sure what witchy topic we're doing, but in a few weeks' time we will be. And I will be here on Monday, 6 a.m. UK time, vlogging about something that I've forgotten, but I do have a plan, I promise. And I will also be here every single morning in your shorts, doing a great big deep breath, letting you know what I'm grateful for. I am here on a Witchy Wednesday doing an intuitive tarot card read for you, and I have got my personal readings open as well on my Ko-fi. You can find it on my link tree. I don't do those on YouTube, they're just private into your email inbox, so you don't have to tell the whole world your business to get a little reading from me. And if you just can't get enough of me, you want to find me in other places, have a look on my link tree. You can find all my socials there. You can find my Patreon there with exclusive short stories, and you can find details about all of my released and about to be released books, including Agents of Secrets and Lies, that's out on the 26th of December. I'm not sure if it will still be on discount when I release this video. I can't remember. It wasn't me that set it up, because that was a collaborative effort. I don't have to do the boring bits. Love that for me. So like and subscribe so that you don't miss any of that, or don't. I'm not your mum. And either way, you have yourself a magical week, and I'll see you next year.